Hey there, welcome to My Green Pets. I'm William Green. I wanted to start out by looking at the Cattleya growths today, since a lot of them are starting to show sheaths, and some of them for the first time. So let's have a look. First of all, we've got Cattleya mossii, and you can see the buds are pushing almost out of the sheath. Maybe by the end of this weekend, we'll actually see them start to push out. And that's going to be exciting to see that bloom soon. You can see the next growth on this same plant has already got a big fat sheath in there as well. Right next to it, this big Cattleya trione Cashin's Mariclone is working on its leaves. It started putting new growths out as soon as it finished blooming in January. And if you take my word for it, if you put the flashlight up behind this, guys, you can see sheaths inside of these as well, which is exciting. Back here we've got a Cattleya purpurata, and I'm not quite sure, but this plant is definitely getting big enough to bloom. It might need to put out one. Sometimes Cattleya types will put out one adult-sized growth with no sheath, and then the next one will have a sheath. So we'll see, but I'm excited about that one. That looks like a pretty big one. Next to it is a hybrid. This is a Cattleya pulcherrima, so this is a hybrid of purpurata and lobata, I believe. They grow very similarly. They share one parent, and they often put out growth at exactly the same time. You can see this one's just a little bit behind the other one. Over here we've got Cattleya maxima with two growths, and you can see a sheath popping out of that one on the left, as well as this one here. If this does what it usually does, it will mature these two growths in the next month or so, and then it will start working on more growths, and then they will all bloom in late summer. Some pretty exciting news. My Cattleya dowiana rosita is showing a sheath in its latest growth. Don't know if I should get excited. Sometimes Cattleyas will throw a blank or empty sheath the first time they grow a sheath. There won't ever be any flowers in it, and then the next growth may put out some flowers. But nonetheless, this has been a really vigorous plant, and I'm really excited to see what it does and if there is something in that sheath after all. Right over here we've got Cattleya hardiana, and you can see that the new growth is pretty substantial. We might see a sheath on that. It looks like it started to grow a second new growth, started to push, but it looks like it's kind of stalled, so it may not actually end up pushing out. But looking forward to seeing something on that. This plant hasn't been as vigorous as I was hoping. Well, I did cut off the back smaller bulbs when I repotted it, so maybe that had something to do with it. A long time ago. This is a Cattleya labiata Sherwood Forest by Perula rubra. It certainly doesn't look, well, you can see there's a lot of color there. But the growths, well, who knows? We'll see. I'd love to see a sheath on that too, but who knows? Who knows? Not a lot to say about that. Check out King George over here. This is Triumphans by Dowiana. Look at the new growth on that guy. That's a big one. We might see a sheath on that too. Fingers crossed. That could be great. So lots of exciting things happening in the Cattleya department. And yeah, we're just gonna keep watching them. I have got some that need to be repotted. I want you to see. So a few years ago, I repotted some into fine grade bark. So for example, this is a Blossfeldiana, and it's in fine grade bark. And the problem with the fine grade bark is that it stays wet for longer. So the roots get kind of mushy and even possibly rotted. So I'm going to repot these in chunkier bark. because I do not like my Cattleyas to sit there wet for days and days. So that's gonna have to get repotted. This one. Maybe this one. Does that look like? No, that one's just recently been repotted. Oh, and this one, yeah, this one needs to be repotted too. It's in that fine grade. Oh, maybe this one too. Fine grade. Roots just can't breathe. So finding that magic balance of moisture and air. Over here, the catasetums are... Everybody's pushing out, even Varsovicii. Shortly after finishing its blooms, it's already got a new growth coming out here. And this plant needs to be repotted, so I need to get a bigger pot for this one. I was gonna just try to use like a half-gallon jug or something. So something, I don't like to buy pots if I can avoid it. Obviously there's so many plastic containers in our lives. Why not use them? But yeah, it needs to be repotted pretty soon. This guy, Fire Embers, has been repotted into a slightly bigger pot. This Cattleya Rebecca Northern Grapefruit Pink has got like 6 new growths on it. This probably needs to be repotted into something a little bit wider, because the bulb's going to be hanging off the edge. But I don't know, I might just leave it in there one more year. I mean, the roots will find the inside of the pot, that's not an issue. So, I don't know, we'll see. It's not too late. Plant that I probably should repot, but I don't know if I will, is Rebecca Northern Mikabe. And the reason is because there's a new growth here, there's a new growth over here, but that's it. So all this space in the pot is not being used. I thought when I planted it, it would grow this direction, but it hasn't. It's grown kind of long ways instead. So kind of thinking about repotting that, but the root growth is already so far advanced on this one that I may not. Here we've got Cattleya rosea. I'm gonna leave this one alone, it's fine. And yeah, oh wow, this is full of water, check that out. Too much water on the pinguicula. This little pinguicula, I've never seen its actual ping leaves. I've never seen it ping out. It's always been, it's kind of stayed as a dormant succulent phase pinguicula since I got it a couple years ago. So I'm hoping this year we might actually see it come out of its little shell. I also repotted my Nepenthes pervillae. I used the pinguicula mix from California Carnivores because it's mostly just kind of grit and sand and rocky stuff. This particular species is supposed to dry out between waterings, which is kind of unusual for Nepenthes. But you can see it's not doing great, but it does not like cool temperatures. It likes to be hot and humid, and I can only give it that for a few months out of the year. So until I can create a hot, humid, steady environment for it all year, it's probably not going to do much for me. All right, well, oh, something's in bloom back here, kind of a surprise. Look, it's one of my little Tillandsias. So a couple years ago, several years ago, I had a little Tillandsia that it bloomed and then it produced several pups, and this is one of the pups. So this is a second generation blooming Tillandsia stuck in my big Cattleya Rex pot. And that's kind of a nice little addition to things. I've also thrown some Spanish moss in there, some ball moss as well. Just kind of throw it all in there. Just kind of becomes a big trash can. My Bulbophyllum lepidum does have spikes. It has 2 I found last night. The bulbs are still quite wrinkled. This plant just needs more water more frequently. But it's hard to do. It's hard to do. It's hard to keep the air circulation up. The humidity in this house is so low. You know, that's one thing about having a tent that I built out of just plastic, panda film, and PVC, is that it's not sealed very well. It's not very airtight. which in a way is good. I mean, it's nice to have fresh air coming into the tent, but also it causes the tent to dry out very quickly. Um, Whereas the pre-made tents that you just buy, like the one that I have in the basement, we're gonna go check that out in a second. It has maintained like 80-90% humidity since I set it up, with just very minimal addition of water. So it's like makes me kind of think, do I want to switch to a prefab tent that zips up and is more airtight, or we'll see. There are definitely plants that this situation works very well for, like the Cattleyas. They can get water every day and pretty much dry out by the next day. But not all the plants like that. Some of the plants like to stay moist. All right, let's go check out the windowsill Cattleya in bloom, and then we'll go look at the cool tent. Oh, are we upside down? Look at this. All right. Cattleya miniata is welcoming the spring with a second spike of flowers. The old flowers several of them have dropped. Looks like it's trying to form a seed pod here. That's going to get removed. You can see there's kind of pollen everywhere on the leaves there. But yeah, this looks like a nice little group of flowers as well. Wonderful. Cattleya. Get so many messages saying I can't get mine to bloom. My question is, I wonder if it's light. I mean, you can see it gets direct sun on its light, on its leaves from the window every morning, for a couple of hours. So I think that could be it. They definitely need a cooler, drier winter. But it doesn't for this plant, it doesn't have to be that extreme. Like when I was living in my apartment, it just sat in the windowsill and I watered it less in the winter, and it still bloomed. In fact, I've had this plant in bloom every month of the year at some point. So, don't know. All right, my grocery store phalaenopsis here, my white phalaenopsis. I am doing an experiment with the spike that I've wanted to do for years and just never had the time or the patience to do it. I want to train the spike to go directly vertical. I've never seen a phalaenopsis spike that's been done with where the flowers just are all facing one direction, almost like an oncidium spike. The problem with getting this is that I have to be present during the entire growth of the spike. And, if I'm out of town for a week or something like that, there'll be enough growth where it starts to curve over that it can't be fixed, it can't be pulled back without significant amount of messing with it, possibly snapping it. So we'll see. I think it would be so cool to have a phalaenopsis spike that just grows straight up. I've never seen it. So let's see if we can do it. All right, let's go to the cool tent. All right, here we are. Not a whole lot of new things to report, but basically everything's doing just fine. Haven't seen any problems. The plants seem to appreciate the decrease in temperatures. It's always really nice and humid in here. The water kind of sits in the drip tray down here and just kind of keeps it moist. This Raja by Edwardsiana has finally opened up this leaf. It's taken like 3 weeks. I'm hoping that we get to see new pictures forming on this guy pretty soon. We've got a possible one here, we've got another possible one here in the front, and then this one. So hoping to see those soon. This Bongso cross grows a little bit faster, it seems, and it's slowly working on a new picture back here. It kind of has hesitated on whether or not it's going to grow out this picture or not, but it looks like it's going to go for it. It's also got a nice big leaf there and a possible picture there, and then a new leaf unfolding there. So very exciting. And my Kinabaluensis seedlings, all of these are from the same seed pod, planted in October of 2023, so they're about 1.5 years old at this point. And you can see this one, even though the tendril got a little bent during the move, it looks like it's still going to try to form a picture there, kind of curving around. And then it looks like we've got a new big fat leaf there, and some more coming. So yeah, everything's growing slowly now, much more slowly than before. But I'm hoping that this is also better for them to have these cool temperatures. Our little bulbophyllum crocium here. Still looking okay. My zagopetalum also growing very, very, very slowly. But I'm really hoping that using the pure reverse osmosis water plus the cool temperatures, I'm really hoping we're going to see minimal spotting on the new growths. You know, that's kind of the thing with zagopetalums, is spotting on the leaves. And I think it would be interesting if the cool temperatures and high humidity and pure water helps us to avoid that. We're also looking at the Masdevallia Machu Picchu here for better leaves. You can see from the old conditions there were just speckles all over the leaves, and I am under the impression this was a humidity and temperature issue. So we just got a brand new leaf here, and you can see it so far doesn't have anything on it. So we're going to see if it develops any speckling on it, and that would tell me that the new conditions are better for this plant. That's what I'm hoping anyway. And then of course my little experiment here, my Pinguicula pirouette, Day of the Dead style in this skull pot, and then this is a Moronensis back here. And I'm hoping that even though the temperatures are cooler, it still gets up to about 20 degrees, 21 degrees Celsius, 68 to 70 degrees during the day. Hoping that that's warm enough that these are able to grow out and be normal. Also have a little baby Moronensis down here in this pocket. So that is everything for today. Please let me know if there's anything in my collection that you'd like to see more of. That's something I don't really ever ask. I just kind of show you what I want to show you. But if there's anything you definitely are interested in seeing more of or learning more about, I'm more than happy to share that. So thanks for stopping by. I'm William Green, and we'll see you next time right here on My Green Pets. See ya.